What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Confidently Flawed. It's your host, Brooke and Danny. We are back with another episode. And ladies, I know you guys are going to really like this episode because this is probably the number one concern and the number one complaint that women have is weight being held in your midsection, feeling like you have that pooch, feeling like you have that belly. And I'm not leaving you out, men, but I just feel like women, we hear this so often from us. And if you're a man who feels this episode is for you too, because we know it's a thing. We know it's a very common complaint of just having that pooch and having that extra weight in our midsection. And so we thought we'd put an episode together to give you guys some tips and tricks to help to reduce that pooch that you may have. And again, nothing ever here is promised. So please don't, take this as, oh, here's the magic pill of exactly what we have to do. But we do believe in consistency, and we do believe and we have seen that some of these tips have given success. So it definitely can't hurt to give it a try. But we hope to just share again some ways that we find can help to lower and reduce some of that poochiness that we feel in our midsection.
One of the things, Brooke, that I hear a lot in fitness, and it's, there needs to be more education on it, um, is the fact like most people think, I want to lose weight in my midsection, so I'm going to do a bunch of core exercises, right? And the unfortunate part of that is the number one way, or the number 5 to 10 ways to lose body fat on the midsection is not by doing a bunch of core exercises. If anything, it's not really going to help you whatsoever. So, and I know that seems kind of weird. So I don't think we need to like dive super deep into like a bunch of topics on this. It's really just like, what should you be doing in order to lose weight in the midsection? And the main couple things I'll dive into, food based, and then I'll dive into like the fitness side. So, food based, you want to look at, how are you consuming your food? Are you, eating a meal and then going long stretches without eating a meal, going long stretches without eating? Or are you eating a bunch of carbs by yourself? We've probably said this 5,000 times on these episodes, but eating carbs by yourself, or doing meal, long gap, meal, long gap, meal, long gap, both of those are going to affect your blood sugar. And both of those, because of that, will result into your body holding on to weight in the midsection. So a couple key things you can do food wise is have protein at every single food consuming situation. So whether it's a snack or an actual meal, have protein with it. It's going to help with the blood sugar. It's going to help with keeping everything stable, and you're less likely to have those ups and down blood sugar levels to where you are going to hold on to body fat, especially in the midsection. The other piece is, when it comes to eating consistently. So I'm all for intermittent fasting. For me, not necessarily for everybody. We can drop the show notes on that whole episode we did for that. But for me, I do intermittent fast. I have stopped doing it working out though. I have started adding protein there to Brooke's recommendation. But what's important is regardless of if you're intermittent fasting or not, when you have your first meal, you're breaking your fast, breakfast, right? When you have that first meal, you should have consistent meals throughout after that. So every 3 to 4 hours is usually what I recommend to have some type of food, preferably with protein, as I just mentioned before. And that will just keep your blood sugar a little more stable. So again, you're less likely to store, fat on the midsection. The second piece, or the other piece to that, is just watching your alcohol consumption. When you overconsume alcohol, especially beer, you're very susceptible to gaining weight in the midsection. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. So that's kind of like the food components. The workout component is, depending on how much you work out, most people only work out like moderate to intense 3 to 4 times a week. So usually only three. So I would say you should always be doing full body. Okay, hitting multiple muscle groups, multiple movement patterns, and you should always incorporate some form of strength training, some sort of hit or interval style cardiovascular, and then more longer durational moderate cardiovascular. You shouldn't only rely on that, but it does help, to just get extra caloric burn. So, making sure you're doing full body, you're doing strength for sure, and then you're incorporating some hit interval style training cardiovascular wise, and then just pure cardio on that end as well. So if you start to do those things, and then you get into a calorie deficit, not too big of a deficit, but a little bit of a deficit, you will start to lose weight on your midsection. Now, asterisk is look at your family history, look at your family dynamic, and see like where do they tend to hold weight. And if they tend to hold in the midsection, it doesn't mean that you can't lose it there. It just means that might be the last place that it comes off, unfortunately. So, kind of like, you know, summary is eat consistently after your first meal every 3 to 4 hours, have a protein at all of your meals, watch out for too much alcohol, make sure you're doing full body workouts, strength training, hit, and cardio all encompassing. Look at your family dynamics, and that might just be the last place, and then make sure you're in a calorie deficit. You do those things, you're going to start to lose weight in your midsection. And yes, there could be some more complicated things than that, but like for this, like it should just be about keeping it as easy as possible for this. And those are, in my opinion, the best ways that you can keep it as easy as possible. Doing 3 full body strength training plus hit and cardio workouts, getting in a calorie deficit, making sure you're eating consistently every 3 to 4 hours with a form of protein, and you'll be well on your way. There is one other one too, and it's stress. And Brooke, you might touch on this, but I think we could almost do like a full episode on stress, and maybe that's what we'll do in the next couple weeks is hit you with kind of stress and how that impacts your health. But that's another one that you really got to be careful of. So, Brooke, I'll kind of pass it to you. I know you've talked about in the past like stress, so maybe you plan to hit on that. But what are some things that come to mind for you when it comes to losing weight, in particular the midsection?
Yeah, it's funny as you were talking, one of the main things I wanted to hit on was stress, but I do love the idea of a full episode on stress because I do believe that stress plays a huge role in weight loss. So let's pocket that conversation for maybe another episode. So aside from stress, I Brooke over here, like your hormone bestie, like hormones, I believe, is a huge component of the midsection, extra weight that we might carry. And I first want to say to women listening to this, your pooch and your lower midsection extra weight that you might carry is very, very likely hormonal induced and very, very likely going to ebb and flow. And I just want to challenge you guys, if you are very, very self-conscious of your quote unquote pooch, take a picture of yourself in the mirror sideways for a month straight, because you will find that you are naturally going to have a bigger pooch at certain phases of your cycle. And guess what? That is exactly how the body was designed to work. And men who are listening to this, you should still listen so you are aware for your wife or your daughter or your spouse. And the reason why that is because after we ovulate, in between our ovulation phase and between when we get our period, that's the phase where your body is prepping to get pregnant. So what does it do? It adds fat storages. It gets more swollen because your body is preparing to safely implant an egg. And again, I know we've talked about this a long, long, long time ago, but even if you don't want to get pregnant, your body tries to get pregnant every single month. Your body prepares to get pregnant every single month. So after you ovulate, once your body releases that egg, that's usually around cycle day 15. So like about 15 days after the start of your menstrual cycle, like this after your first day of bleeding, is when your body is in the phase of egg is released until you get your period, and that is called your luteal phase. And again, your body naturally puffs up. Your lower abdomen naturally gets more swollen because it is prepping to get pregnant. And then all of a sudden, your body realizes it's not pregnant, and then you'll realize that that swelling is going to go down. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because I just want the women who are listening to this to not be so hard on yourself, because it is normal. And I know it's frustrating, and I know we don't love that pooch. And yes, we can reduce that, and all the ways that Danny shared are great tips. But I just want you women that are listening to this here that you getting a little bit more, like carrying a little bit of extra weight in your midsection is a healthy thing that your body is doing during a certain phase of your cycle. So first, give yourself that grace. How can we support our body through that? Support your body through your cycle. I'll link an episode in the show notes where I kind of talked about that if you want to go back and listen to it. But again, huge thing, support your hormones. And the only other main thing aside from the stress, which we're going to have a whole episode on, that I kind of want to retouch on, that Danny said, is the insulin issue. A lot of the lower midsection issues is an insulin issue. It's a sugar issue. When you're eating too much sugar that isn't being processed with other proteins. So biggest things that I recommend doing, number one, do not shock your body by drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Coffee should not be drank on an empty stomach. I personally even believe even those people who do intermittent fasting, like black coffee, still affects your hormones and still affects your body and affects the way your body releases insulin. And so make sure you have a protein rich meal first thing in the morning. That's going to help your blood sugar levels. That's going to help your cortisol levels, which in return affects your stress. And then again, like Danny said, always make sure you're having protein with every single meal, especially a meal that you have sugar. If you want ice cream, I know it sounds crazy, but like have a bowl of ice cream and a piece of chicken with it, or like make sure within that time that you're having ice cream, you have protein with it. Yes, I know some ice cream has protein, but most of the ice cream that you're just going to get at the store or get at an ice cream shop is not protein filled. So make sure you have protein. That is going to help your body, help your blood sugar levels, help your insulin levels, and that is going to help reduce the pooch. A lot of women and a lot of men that have the pooch have insulin issues, and that's why we see a lot of women who have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is an insulin resistance issue. They have the pooch, and that's actually one of the first telltale signs that OBGYNs will see in diagnosing PCOS is if they have this pooch. Lower, and that's again a huge blood sugar issue. So that's me talking about the hormone side of it. Danny kind of shared some nutrition and exercise tips, but you know, loving your body is important. And yes, we can work on trying to do better and to look better, but the body that you are living in is the body that you have, and to still love that body no matter how it is, no matter what it looks like. And yes, we can always try to be better, but in the present moment, if you're down on yourself, if you're constantly like, oh, this pooch, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, you're talking so negatively to your body. So try to be positive and try to love yourself where you're at, and love yourself by, yes, trying to do better, but loving your body for exactly what it is. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Confidently Flawed. If you got value from this, if you think that anybody would get value from this, please share this with them. We do this for you guys to just help you live a happier and healthier life. So until then, until next week, we'll see you guys with another episode of Confidently Flawed.